Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing We Gather Together.
Welcome to First Unitarian Church of Rochester, where through spiritual connection in community, we listen deeply to others and ourselves, we open to wonder and transformation, and we serve together with love and humility. I'm Reverend AJ. I use he and him pronouns. I'm one of the ministers that serves this congregation, and I'm very excited to welcome to our pulpit, to our worship leadership this morning, the minister who was my minister growing up, Reverend Mary Catherine Morin, president of the UU Service Committee, which you'll hear a lot about them today. So, yes, if you, it's very much her fault that I am up here in a stole, in a robe, leading worship various Sundays. So, but also leading worship is Amanda, our Director of Religious Education, Chris, our worship associate. We've got Pablo bringing the music, our AV team making everything technologically connected, and of course, all of you. We could not do church or worship or anything that we do here at church without the people. If you are here for the first time or the first couple times, please connect with our welcome desk, connect with our hospitality team so that we can get to know you a little better and help you get connected around here. And if this is one of your very first times and you aren't aware of Connection, which is our time between the two services for small group connections, please come at 10:30 next week. And we've got the Inquirer series every single Sunday. It rotates through different topics, but we'll orient you to our faith tradition and our church here and all the things that we do. We'd love to get to know you and help you get oriented. And if you are here because you are going through a hard time or you are worried about somebody else who is, please don't hesitate to reach out to our pastoral care team. We have folks who can meet and connect throughout the week, but also on Sunday mornings, a lay pastoral care associate. Mary is in the back wearing a beige and rainbow stole. You can connect with her during the service if needed or afterwards. One quick announcement. This Wednesday is the first of 3 lectures in a series known as the MINS Lectures. That's MINNS. It's a Unitarian Universalist institutional lecture series. Not men's lecture, but MINS lecture. And we are hosting the second of the 3 in the current series. That'll be on May 8th. Reverend Lisa Friedman, who was raised in here by Dave and Linda, and is now a minister in Minnetonka, Minnesota. She will be delivering that lecture, but this Wednesday, she'll be delivering that lecture here in our sanctuary and live stream online. This Wednesday at 8 p.m. will be the first lecture in the series, which we can catch online. And the topic is, for all 3, is deconstructing mythologies of Unitarian anti-racism. So it will be an enlightening series, challenging perhaps in some ways, but good to face our history and forge our future together. But now, it is Sunday morning. Let us worship together. I invite you to center yourself however you need, if that's centering your feet on the ground, taking a breath in. We'll acknowledge with respect the Seneca Nation, keepers of the Western Door, and part of the Haudenosaunee people on whose ancestral and contemporary lands First Unitarian now stands. If you're joining us online, I invite you to have a chalice or get a candle ready to light your chalice along with us here, as I invite Chris to light our chalice as we say our unison words together. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift.
I invite you to rise in body and spirit one more time as we sing Everything is Possible by Leah Morris. And in case you don't remember it, I'll sing it through first and then we'll sing it together. Everything is possible, this I know, this I know, this I know. Everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free. Everything is possible, this I know, this I know, this I know. Everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free. Now here's part 2. Bountiful and free, where I'm supposed to be. In this part we know, everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free. Now back to bountiful and free. Bountiful fallen free where I'm supposed to be. Everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free. Let's do it a couple times. Here we go. And everything is possible, this I know, this I know, this I know. Everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free, bountiful and free, where I'm supposed to be. Everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free. Last time, 1, 2, 3. Everything is possible, this I know, this I know, this I know. Everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free, bountiful and free, where I'm supposed to be. Everything is possible, this I know. I'm bountiful and free. Thank you.
So, as an apostrophed American, I've had my fair share of name mispronunciations over the 49 years. What's that? Oh, that's a good point. I should probably have started with that. I already told the first group that. I thought you already knew. So I'm Chris Dorso. I'm your lay worship associate today. And for what it's worth, because I did not tell the first group this, you just don't pronounce the apostrophe, for what it's worth. Could not possibly be easier, and yet. So I've had my share of crazy name pronunciations over my time, and if you know me at all, you know I'm no stranger nor afraid of a microphone or a stage. And one of my first higher ed gigs was at SUNY Old Westbury, which is a small liberal arts SUNY college down on Long Island. And they asked me to serve as the public address announcer for our men's and women's basketball teams, which I was more than happy to do. And so when we had visiting teams come in, inevitably there would be a name or two that was probably not pronounced the way it was spelled on the page. And so I would always make a point to check in with a trainer or an assistant coach, someone on our visiting team, just to make sure as I'm announcing scores and all of those kinds of things that I'm pronouncing names correctly. No, it was good. Yes, very much, yes. And so one of the teams in our conference was Yeshiva University. Yeshiva is a very small Orthodox Jewish school in New York City. And they were in our basketball conference. They were not terribly good at basketball, but they were one of our favorite teams to play, mostly because we were not terribly good at basketball. And so when Yeshiva came in for the first time, I looked at the roster that they gave me, which had a lot of very difficult to pronounce Hebrew names. And so I went over to the assistant coach, as I always did, and I asked them about pronunciations, and I made little notes about how to make sure I was pronouncing all the names correctly. And at the end of the game, the head coach actually came over to the scorer's table where I sat and thanked me and said, you know, you're the first school who's ever actually asked us how to pronounce our players' names and how much that meant to them as human beings. And ultimately, that is really why we come to church, because here we know that we are not alone in this world, and it is important that we listen to folks who are different from us and folks who have different life experiences, because their experiences are not our experiences. And we cannot assume that through our own framework that we know what other folks in our world are engaging with on a day-to-day basis. And simply the act of getting a name correct can make all the difference in welcoming and partnership. And that is why I'm all very, very glad that you're here. So if you would, take a brief moment to greet your neighbor. And this is a golden opportunity to make sure you're pronouncing their name correctly. Amanda will bring us back in just a couple of minutes.
Hello, good people. Young and old and in between. Good people of the First Unitarian Congregation of Rochester. And those visiting us this morning, so good to see all of you here. I'm standing at the pulpit today, not here, so it's a little different, but everybody is still invited in. We'll have two stories. One, I will tell you. The next one is going to be a video that we'll show you after. So the story I have to share with you this morning is one that is currently unfolding. It's being told right here and right now within the walls of this building. A new chapter is written each and every week as we gather together, seeking meaning, joy, beauty, and comfort, and hope. Hope. It's the story of us, all of us together, of this Unitarian Universalist community. It's a story that reaches back hundreds of years into the past, and hopefully for hundreds of years into the future. I'm so very grateful to be a part of this unfolding story with all of you. As your director of religious education, what a blessing in my life. It's been a joy getting to know many of you over the past couple of years that I've been here, and I'm so pleased with what we've been able to do together so far. The religious education program is growing in exciting ways. We've welcomed many new families this year. The nursery, in particular, has nearly tripled in size since September. Yeah. And we have 10 to 15 young people regularly attending the high school youth group, which is up from just a few when I started 2 Septembers ago. Yeah, you probably remember the incredible service that they led at the beginning of April. It's so special to have them in numbers with us. So we are coming back. We're coming back from COVID. We are back welcoming back families that we haven't seen in a number of years, which is really exciting. New babies are being born, and families are seeking out our community as a place of refuge, really, in these trying times. So one thing I love that we have done together is welcome the children into worship each week. The children are with us every week in worship, which is so significant. They gather with us, held in the loving embrace of this community, in this sanctuary, to join their voices together with ours in song, in laughter, and in prayer. What a joy it has been to have so many of you reflect back to me that you love this, that you love having the children with us each week. It's really been wonderful to hear. So this Sunday is the beginning of our volunteer recruitment drive for next year's religious education program. And I know that seems kind of early, but we have a big program with many different parts, and so we start early. We ask each family that signs up for RE, that's been with us for more than 6 months, to give 8 to 10 weeks, or about 16 to 20 hours of their time each year, and many do more than that, to making sure that this program can run. And so today, and over the coming weeks, I want to ask you to consider deepening your commitment. Those of you who are maybe younger than having children yet, or your children have grown, maybe through this program, or those who have chosen not to have children. I want to ask you to consider deepening your commitment to the children and families of this congregation by spending time with them over the coming year. So many of us right now in the world are looking for a way to make a difference. We want change. We want to help. We want to be part of a living legacy of liberation and hope. Volunteering in RE, investing in the children that are growing up right here in this community is a really significant way to do that. The volunteer recruitment table will be out there for the next few Sundays. Please come talk to me. Sarah, our other parents who are helping us at that table to get more information. We have opportunities to volunteer a couple weeks a year or more, and we would love everybody to come and be a part of that. If we carry it together, it will feel easy and joyful. So before I go, I want to cue up our next story. So Mary Catherine's here with us this week, and she leads the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, which was born
Hello. Today I
through
want to
this
tell
story.
you a story about how the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, or UUSC, began. It all started over 80 years ago when Unitarians in the United States were watching what was happening in Europe, and they were getting very worried. They were worried because a man named Hitler and the people he was leading, called the Nazis, were becoming very powerful and hurting a lot of people. The Nazis believed some very mean and wrong things. They believed the only people who were any good were people who were just like them. They wanted everyone to be the same as they were, and if you weren't, well, they would kick you out of your house, they would take all of your things, they wouldn't let you work, and eventually, they started killing people who they thought were different from them. Jewish people, gay people, people with disabilities, all of them were targets of the Nazis during this time. It was very scary. What do you think you would do if you saw something like this happening? Would you want to help? Would people in your UU community want to help too? It was the same over 80 years ago. The Unitarians wanted to help people in Europe who were being targeted by the Nazis. So, a Unitarian minister and his wife from Wellesley, Massachusetts, Waitstill and Martha Sharp, went to Europe to see how they could help people there. They found lots of ways to help when they got there, but they had to be creative because the Nazis were always watching, and it would be dangerous if they got caught. The Sharps helped get the paperwork people needed to escape to safer places. Sometimes they would even sneak people past guards wearing disguises. They also helped people, including kids like you, get food and clothing in a time when it was very hard to find both. The Sharps were very brave, but they didn't do this work alone. They worked with people in the Jewish communities in Europe. They worked with the other Unitarians in the United States who sent them money and other supplies so more people could be helped. That is how the Unitarian Service Committee, now called UUSC, got started. Today, UUSC still works around the world to help people who are being treated badly find safety and have their human rights respected. We work with migrant communities who fled their homes in Central America and are seeking asylum in the United States. We work with Rohingya Muslims in Burma who are facing inhumane treatment and displacement by their government. We work with people around the world whose home communities are threatened by climate change, and many more. Both back then and today, UUs come together through the UU Service Committee to work with people who need it most. And we will continue to be there to help in the future, because Unitarian Universalists believe in doing what we can to make the world a better and safer place for everyone. Thank you for the ways you help us do this work. We couldn't do it without everyone joining together. Thank you for listening to this story.
Please lift your voices to help. Yeah, go ahead. Definitely clap for the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. Beautiful. Let's sing our children out to their classes.
We bless you on your journey through, from sheltering arms to the wide sky blue, in your joyful jumps and your sad times too. You bless us by being you.
Good morning, Rochester UUs. I'm so glad to be with you and to have this time in worship together. I invite you to join me now in a few minutes of quiet reflection and meditation and prayer to quiet ourselves, to ground ourselves in this moment, to set down the worries that we cannot affect right now and be present for this community, this inspiration, this care that we share. I invite you to begin this reflection, this time of reflection and meditation in silence, and I will close out our silence with the words of the poet Rosemary Watola Traumer and her poem, which is entitled, "For When People Ask." May the silence bring a quiet to our minds and our hearts and our bodies so that we may open to the possibility of this moment and this day. For when people ask, "How are you?" For when people ask, I want a word that means okay and not okay. More than that, a word that means devastated and stunned by joy. I want the word that says, I feel it all at once. The heart is not like a songbird singing only one note at a time, more like a Tuvan throat singer, able to sing both a drone and simultaneously 2 or 3 harmonics high above it. A sound, the Tuvans say, that gives the impression of wind swirling among rocks. The heart understands swirl, how the churning of opposite feelings weaves through us like an insistent breeze, leads us wordlessly deeper into ourselves, blesses us with the paradox so that we might walk more openly into this world so rife with devastation. This world so ripe with joy. Amen.
We enter now into ritual to bring what is on our hearts and lay it on the altar of community and spirit. Honoring the complexities of life, I invite you to bring to mind whatever grief or gratitude or growth is alive within you this morning. Online, you're invited to share what it is in the chat, and here in the sanctuary, you're invited forward to light a candle. If you would like an usher to bring you a candle, please simply raise your hand. And I will begin by lighting a candle for Libby Simpson, daughter of Joe Simpson. Libby passed away peacefully last Saturday. To live in hearts that love is not to die. May we now share in this ritual of community care and witness to one another's hearts. All that we hold in our hearts for ourselves, for each other, and for the world is held in this community and by a larger love that holds us all, always. Amen. Ashe. And blessed be.
Our musical meditation today is From You I Receive. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Amen. It's so beautiful to see you together and to see you bring your hearts to the candles and hold each other in this way. This world is rife with devastation, and our coming together makes all the difference in the world. And here we can remind one another that there is joy and beauty, and that together in solidarity we can make this world better. Thank you for this privilege of being with you for these beautiful purposes. I'm Mary Catherine, or MK. I use she, her pronouns, and I was AJ's minister. Did you see me pat myself on the back when he introduced himself? It was when AJ was in high school that I was in college, when I was at the congregation that he grew up in. And I remember when he told me that he was thinking about attending seminary. And I remember feeling this sense of course, that's right. And it's such a joy to watch AJ with his ministry. And I listened to AJ's Easter sermon. Did y'all hear that? Pretty amazing stuff there, AJ. Life breaks through because that's what life is. I needed that. I want to thank AJ, too, for this invitation, for me, but also for UUSC, to enter into conversation with this congregation, as we have been over the years, but it's been a while since UUSC has visited this congregation, and I'm so grateful for this chance to explore together with you how we can be in partnership in building a better world together. There's so much that is needed, and we need each other to make it happen. It's really a joy to see you so happy to be here. I've been to this congregation a number of times over the years, and I know congregations have their struggles and their changes, and seeing you thrive like this is a great joy to me. And I'm sorry to miss Sherry, my colleague Sherry. I hope to see her another time. I'm sure she's having a great sabbatical. But congratulations on the wonderful work you're doing. Rochester needs you to be strong. And so I'm really just thrilled to see where you are as a congregation and the joy that you brought with you this morning. It's wonderful to see. I hope that this morning you'll see how UUSC can be a partner with you as a force of good in the world, and how together we are stronger. I'm especially glad for this chance to share news and stories from UUSC right now. Right? Could I get an amen? Now that our next crisis and humanitarian response is right here. At UUSC, it's been a gift to us to feel our interdependence these last months in a new way. It's been fascinating. In fact, just immediately after the election, we started to feel this sense of solidarity like we never had before, because of the messages we received from our partners around the world after the election. Juan Jose is the director of Pope No, one of UUSC's partners in Guatemala. Pope No supports children who are deported from the United States, often unaccompanied, helps them reunite with family members or find a safe place to be. And Juan Jose has been doing work like this for decades. And he wrote us an email that we received on November 6th. And he said, "We're here. We see you. We know it is so baffling when the values of the world appear to be upside down and hate appears to be the value of the day. But I want you to remember," he said, "that the resistance of generations makes us stronger." And he would know. Juan Jose knows this in his bones. The resistance of generations makes us stronger. I'm going to start with a reading, a well-loved poem by Marge Percy. Some of you, I'm sure, will know it, called The Low Road. And then I want to share the voices and the stories of UUSC's partners as a way to weave our stories together and to imagine together what is possible when we are brave, when we remember our power, and when we work together in solidarity. Percy's poem, The Low Road, is about interdependence and solidarity, but she begins with a frank reminder of what is possible, that is, what they can do to us. What can they do to you? Whatever they want. They can set you up, they can bust you, they can break your fingers, they can, well, she goes on a little bit, but honestly, I don't think we need to hear her recounting of the terrors anticipated or experienced. So I'm going to save us that. That occupies a lot of our mind space now. And Percy's real point with the poem is to remind us about the power we have when we come together. Two people can keep each other sane. can give support, conviction, love, massage, hope, sex. 3 people are a delegation, a committee, a wedge. With 4, you can play bridge and start an organization. With 6, you can rent a whole house, eat pie for dinner with no seconds, and hold a fundraising party. 6, that is all it takes. A dozen make a demonstration, 100 fill a hall, 1,000 have solidarity in your own newsletter, 10,000 power in your own paper, 100,000 your own media, 10 million your own country. That sounds pretty good. It goes on one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again when they said no. It starts when you say we and know who you mean, and each day you mean one more. That part about your own country is a little seductive, don't you think? A little appealing right now. But to be clear, this is about a great deal more than the United States. This message is about a great deal more than politics. Because the biggest challenge we face is not one leader or one partner or one policy that decides who can and who cannot have human rights. The biggest challenge we face is that the systems by which we organize our shared life, politically, economically, and socially, those systems have been designed in no small part to keep us disconnected. You might also say designed for profit, the profit of a few. They've been designed to ensure that we forget our kinship, forget that we all have worth, that we all belong, and that we only thrive when we thrive together. One of my favorite bloggers is Brian Stout. He writes a blog called Building Belonging. He reflects on this. He says, all domination systems, whether we call them white supremacy or patriarchy, colonialism or extractive capitalism, all domination systems depend on 3 things to maintain their power. First, disconnecting us from ourselves and our bodies. Second, disconnecting us from each other and community. And third, disconnecting us from the earth and other living beings. Domination systems survive when we remain disconnected, and they depend upon that, and they create energy of disconnection. And we know what happens once we are disconnected and disengaged. We resign ourselves to powerlessness. And truly, when we disengage and isolate ourselves, we are powerless. When we forget our interdependence, that we are kin, when we abandon the possibility of another world, a better world, when we fall into cynicism and despair, we are playing into the hands of tyrants. Our perception of powerlessness is exactly what empire is depending on to survive. We live in the tension that AJ described so powerfully last week between the inevitability of suffering and death and the force of life that breaks through. Or I like to say, between the finite reality and the infinite possibility. This is the season of leaning into that possibility, to the power of life breaking through. And we hear it in stories of resurrection and stories of resistance. Like the stories in the life and history of this congregation. You have such rich stories of resistance that are part of your history. And stories about individuals who did not shrink, but who claimed their power and who knew the possibility of something new that could be made, built, created when we come together. So the stories I'm going to share are stories like that. Stories of UUSC partners who, despite living in conditions of horrific suffering and oppression and brutality, nevertheless stubbornly claim their own power and refuse to let go of their vision of what is possible in a new world, the vision of a world where all people can thrive. Like Anna Maria Tesfaye. Anna Maria is an Ethiopian-Russian activist who founded an organization called Queer Svit. She founded this organization when the full-scale invasion of Ukraine happened to support queer people who were leaving Ukraine with travel assistance, legal support and asylum consultation, and humanitarian aid, supporting more than 1,000 queer people in Ukraine and beyond. I got to meet Anna Maria just a year after the invasion. And it was a little heartbreaking because I learned from her that we were, at the time, Queer Svit's only funder. She wasn't going to give up because she knew what we know, that what so often happens in times of crisis is that helpers swoop in and then leave too fast. So one of UUSC's commitment is to stay in the midst of a crisis, to come in when we know we are able to build relationships over time. Anna Maria didn't give up, and I'm happy to say her organization is still doing important work supporting queer people. I also want to tell the story of some young women, some young Burmese women who I had the privilege of meeting in December of last year, just a few months ago. We were traveling to Thailand to meet with a group of our partners from Burma, also known as Myanmar. We use Burma because that's what our partners prefer for the name of their country. And we gathered 15 of UUSC's partners in Thailand for a convening to talk about what's happening, share the challenges they're facing, and learn what strategies are working in their work right now. And one of the groups that we met with, we actually got to go to the school that they sponsor for young girls and for girls and young women in providing training for them to be organizers and activists and builders of democracy. So we arrived at the Karen Women's Organization School one morning, really early. This was in Chiang Mai, Thailand. And as we got there, our colleague Myra, who is Burmese and was speaking with them in Burmese, was whispering, and it was clear that something wasn't quite right, and we finally discovered that we had arrived a day early, that they were expecting us the next day. So they weren't really ready for us, so there was a little scrambling about, but we finally settled into their classroom, about 20 girls and young women, and those of us who were visiting from UUSC staff and our board. And we introduced ourselves, and when everyone had finished introducing ourselves, there was this awkward moment of silence when we realized, wow, they really weren't ready for us. And then after just a moment, a young woman from the back of the room stood up, and she walked to the front of the room and stood right in the center. And she told us her story. She told us about growing up in one of the villages that was targeted by the military that's bombing their own people. Their village was bombed, and their fields were burned. So the community had to move into the jungle. They would get settled for a little while, and then the military would find them, and drones would target them. So they were on the move in the jungle, and the young woman who was telling the story shared that her mother really wanted her to have the opportunity for education. So she sent her to one of the refugee camps, where she at least had a chance to be with other young people and get some kind of education. And it was from there that she had the opportunity to come to the KWO school. She told us the story of her life and how she arrived there. And then she shared her own analysis of the very complicated political system in Burma and why she remains hopeful that inclusive democracy is possible, that they are working toward that, and that it's getting close. And then she concluded her talk with her ask of us, telling us exactly what they needed from us. It was as good as any TED Talk I have ever heard. And then she sat down, and then 2 other young women followed her lead, telling their story, offering what they'd been learning, and telling us what they needed from us. This community of people does not, it doesn't have time for despair, can't be cynical, and they know so well the power they have within them and the power of solidarity to create change. Now, as I said, UUSC's next crisis response is developing right here in the United States, which means there is more for us to be doing, and we are. Immediately after the election, we provided emergency protection grant to Pink Haven. Some of you may know about Pink Haven's really important work. Pink Haven is a network of activists and organizations working to help trans and gender-expansive people who are fleeing the most dangerous states in the US and who can find a safer place in places like Rochester, New York. We're grateful for the support and solidarity we've experienced, our folks, in connecting with your congregation, and hope that we can do more of that to support Pink Haven and the important work they're doing. It's heartbreaking, though, of course. It's devastating. UUSC, for 85 years, has worked with people who are forced to leave their homes because some consider their very identity criminal. We've done this in Hungary, in Czechoslovakia, in Bangladesh, in the Pacific Islands, all over the world. And now our internally displaced crisis is right here in the United States. This year, UUSC, with your help, will be distributing $1 million on top of our regular grants and partnerships for protection grants for communities targeted by this administration's attacks, primarily organizations helping people in migration and LGBTQI+ people in the United States. That's what's possible with your help. And we're working in coalition to resist and push back against the efforts of the administration to break civil society and block progressive action for inclusion and justice. We have joined a legal suit against the actions of the administration related to USAID and foreign aid funding. We got documentation from all of our partners on the impacts these cuts are having, and we're able to create a remarkably powerful amicus brief to be part of that suit. We are also building a resistance network, and we really hope that you will sign up and be part of our advocacy efforts through the Resistance Network. And I'm really excited about your new This Is What Democracy Looks Like group and how we can partner together. UUSC Resistance Network will be sending out actions every couple of weeks that we can come together on, and we're hoping to hear from you actions that we can join you on. So let's do this together. We are stronger together. Together, we can play bridge. I love bridge. I love pie even more. We can eat pie and hold a demonstration and fill a hall. We can even fill the General Assembly Hall at the United Nations. And UUSC partner, Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change, just did just that. My last story. 4 years ago, there was a classroom of law students at the University of the South Pacific who were given an assignment to come up with the most creative legal strategy they could imagine for addressing the impacts of climate change. Students from the Pacific. These are people with direct experience of the harms of climate change. So they said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to go to the United Nations, and we ought to tell the United Nations that there need to be reparations, that somebody's accountable for what's happening. These 23 law students from the South Pacific, they weren't despairing, they weren't feeling cynical, they knew their power, or imagined their power. So they thought they would get the United Nations to pass a resolution so that there could be a framework of accountability on climate justice. We were very fortunate to already be in relationship with adjacent groups so that we could provide their initial funding. We supported this group of students to attend the International Climate Conference in Brazil, where they met Earth Rights and 360.org and Greenpeace and Amnesty, and received much bigger grants than UUSC is able to provide, and built a true network to push their agenda. It was brilliant. It was highly unlikely that they were ever going to get a resolution passed at the United Nations, but the stories they were telling needed to be told. The work, the organizing they were doing was making a difference. When they visited us in Boston, the organizers Vishal and Solomon, they told us that our work was to keep supporting them. We were giving them their credentials for the UN. We got them an apartment in New York City during the campaign. And the United States needed to kind of stay out of the way because that was their best hope at the United Nations, they said. So that was in October of 2021. And friends, in March of 2022, in New York City, in the hall of the General Assembly of the United Nations, Vanuatu, the nation of Vanuatu, brought a resolution to the General Assembly calling for the International Court of Justice to issue an advisory opinion stating the accountabilities and the reparations needed for the climate crisis, and it was adopted by unanimous consent. This world is rife with devastation, and it's ripe with joy. There is so much to fear and so many threats and so much chaos, and there is rich and transformative power when we come together and dream and imagine and believe that we can build a world where all people can flourish, where all people can thrive. Let's go.
Thank you, Mary Catherine, for bringing these stories of power and solidarity and hope to us. We come now in our service to the offering, which is not just a way of financially supporting the mission and the ministry of First Unitarian, but it is an embodiment of our solidarity, of our interdependence, of our working together for the good. And as part of the spiritual practice of generosity, each week we share half of our collection with an organization living out our shared values in the world, and you get one guess as to who the recipient is this morning. Like our own congregation and every UU congregation, the UU Service Committee is a member-supported organization. It does not receive monetary support from the Unitarian Universalist Association, our larger denominational body. And the amazing partnership work that they do is only real because people like us make it possible with our generous financial support. So we're going to take the collection in a moment, and I invite you to give generously here. And additionally, I invite you to sign up. Sign up at the table in the lobby after the service. Sign up for the Resistance Network. Become a member of the UUSC to make financial support of the UUSC a regular part of your own spiritual practice of generosity. Make them one of your partners, connecting you with partners across the world in this work. And I will join you in that. I'll be doing so for the first time today, joining the UUSC, not just because my own beloved minister invited me to, but because the work is so important and transformative, as we have heard, because the UUSC is a long-standing vehicle for living out our values all over the world, because I want their ability to defend human rights to expand and grow. I want that $1 million fund for protection grants to be $2 million or even more, and so I am doing my part to financially support that. And I hope you will join me in becoming a member of UUSC today. And if you are able to join, you should know that gifts of $150 or more from individuals are eligible to be matched dollar for dollar by a generous grant from the UU congregation at Shelter Rock. But for now, the offering here, which you can give in the Church Center app by following the QR code that will be on the screen in a moment. You can text PLATE and the amount you would like to give to 84321, and you can also give in the offering baskets that will now be passed. In the spirit of abundance and generosity, the offering will now be given and humbly received.
Today's offertory music comes from the Icelandic composer Olafur Arnalds, and the title is Saman, which means together or in unison in Icelandic. And also in a Persian translation of it, it could be interpreted as calm or a place of solace. So this is Saman by Olafur Arnalds.
It goes on one at a time. It starts when you care to act. It starts when you do it again and they say no. It starts when you say we and know who you mean, and each day you mean one more. Please join me in our closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment. Please rise as you are willing and able in body and spirit for our closing hymn.
From the light of days remembered burns our beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with the assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of our living rings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and our place, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with the assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful visions comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with the assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin.
Please remain standing for our chalice extinguishing, and if you are able to help after to stack the chairs, please stack only the chairs with arms for those willing and able. Thank you very much. And our unison words to extinguish the chalice: we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
And our benediction from the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, our Unitarian Universalist Association president. Love expects nothing less of us than the rebuilding of this struggling world. Sometimes what we know of love and justice pushes us in ways we never expected, and sometimes the need to bear such love into the world is heartbreakingly large. It is in these moments that we most need one another and most need beloved community, because here we find solidarity and care and power and hope. Go in peace.